So today we're talking about killing the founder's name, and if you can actually do that. Turns out you can. So in this industry, and my industry is HVAC, plumbing, electric. The founder's name is seen as sacred, and I killed 9 of them. That's right. Yeah, I thought about killing maybe one of them. All right, so yeah, I'm a founder now and CEO of Highground Service Pros. To date, so I started in 2020. ETA story, bought a very small plumbing company. It was me and 3 plumbers, no staff, $1 million of revenue. Fast forward 5.5 years, we've done 9 acquisitions. We got about 120 team members. We're in 3 states: New Jersey, New Hampshire, and Maine. Yeah, we cover these 3 trades. So with those 9 acquisitions, we've done a bunch of kind of tuck-ins, rolling them into existing brands that we own, but we were left with 3 brands and 3 markets. So you can kind of see the laydown there. The one I started with is in that Jersey Shore market, Guarantee. Sanford in New Hampshire. For a while, it was just those 2. And then we recently added CNF Plumbing last summer, giving us 3 markets, 3 names. One of the things I was running into, like the last 2 years, I did like a lot of self-study and experimentation on like brand awareness, brand building. If anyone lives in New Hampshire, Patrick does, maybe they've heard me on the radio under the Sanford name. We did a lot of like mass media broadcasts, and it worked. Like our business grew, and we sort of like got comfortable with it. And I wanted to do it across the other brands, but having like multiple brands was problematic. It's just like difficult to have like good creative and good strategy around 3 brands, at least on a small team. And also we wanted to build a super regional service area from Maine to New Jersey over the next few years. To do that under multiple names like doesn't really make sense. And if you're gonna move into Massachusetts, what name are you doing that under? So we decided to pull the trigger, and I probably just verbally skipped a few slides. So yeah, hard to build a super regional platform on 3 disjointed names. And yeah, it was like at what point, if we're going to do it with 3, are we going to do it with 4? Are we going to do it with 6 different names? Like when does this kind of stop? So why did we do this rebrand? And I think like a lot of like we, as like budding entrepreneurs in small to medium sized business, I think we get taught a lot of the wrong things around marketing. One of the reasons that's the case is that a lot of the vendors that we interact with are like pay-per-click vendors, LSA vendors, Google Business Profile vendors, and they're very focused on direct response and return on ad spend. Like these are the metrics that we're told to focus on. And I actually think that's fine, but it's small ball. And you're going to stay small for a long time if that's your focus. If you want to build a big business and try to win, you gotta go brand. I'll talk a little bit about why. So these 2 charts basically are depicting like think of it like the black line is like base revenue, and then the red spikes are like the sugar rush spikes that you get from like promotional direct response advertising. Okay, so if you're going 100% direct response, your brand is going to atrophy over time, and it may not feel like that at a really small size, right? Of course, like I started out running $1 million company, and as soon as I turn on ads, like holy shit, we're growing, right? But the reality is like I'm not actually building the base, and I'm just kind of like getting hooked, and because I'm hiring staff, I'm building infrastructure around this new revenue size, and I'm getting like hooked on that sugar, right? And now I have to keep spending. I'm gonna like keep driving my customer acquisition cost up to try to maintain that revenue because I haven't actually built the base revenue of the brand, right? But if I have a good balance, I can actually raise the floor, right? I have more customers in the market who understand who I am. My like base of reoccurring revenue continues to increase, and I can still supplement with those sugar rushes, but it's like it's additive, right? Instead of necessary. One of the ways we kind of do this is we want to seek fame, right? You want to become a household name. That, to me, like that was when I was messing around with Sanford as a brand. That was my core focus. I want to make Sanford a household name, because what you realize is, like, you think, you buy, when I bought my $1 million business first, you're like, the sim, right, that the broker sends you is like, this is a reputable brand, like long-time customers, everyone, local titan. It's like, dude, this is $1 million company. Nobody fucking knows who they are. Nobody knows, except the guy who maybe has a sticker on his water heater, right? But you think about like the truly like regionally dominant businesses in our sort of industries, they're the ones that you have actually just like have been put in front of you over and over and over again, and you just your faucet starts leaking, you think, I'm going to call these guys, instead of going into Google and typing plumber near me, right? So a couple ways, like direct response, again, like pay-per-click, LSA, promotions on Facebook. And really, like, the idea is like you're fighting everyone else for the 5% of the market that happens to be in market today, like happens to be looking for your services today. And you're not just fighting for that 5%, but you're fighting for like that last click, right? And like that's the most expensive way to acquire a customer. And it's an auction process. Brand awareness, we're talking mass media, radio, TV. Radio, I'm a huge believer in radio for like the value that you can, like the reach and frequency you can get for $1. And it's truly, you have to think of it as like an investment in future leads, right? And that's why that balance is important. If you go 100% into brand, you're kind of going to bleed today. So we have to balance it out, invest in future leads while also filling the board today. And really, like, I have no like and trust here. Like, that's something that I keep top of mind when I think about like, what are we actually saying around the brand? Like, what's the copy? We want people to know, like, and trust us. That's what we want. So again, I like loosely remember how these slides are set up, so I'm just going. But you want them to be typing in your brand into Google instead of plumber near me. And we'll talk a little bit about like branded search volume and how we've performed on that since the rebrand. Talk about that in a handful of slides. One thing, so again, kind of going back to like a lot of things we're taught about marketing are wrong, in my opinion. Like some slick marketing consultant's going to walk into your shop and want to talk, ask you questions, then do some market analysis and come back with some 14-page deck, talk to you about your ideal customer profile, your ICP, and, like 25 to 45-year-old women with 2 kids who watch HGTV and shop at Lowe's. That's your ICP. That is not the only person who spends money on new water heaters in your area, okay? Everyone's got a water heater, and we can mass market to everybody. And we're just expanding our surface area for like luck in order to like gain those leads, right? Niche targeting, I think, is problematic, and it's a fool's errand. But I'll piss off. I don't know if we have any marketers in the room, but I will piss off some marketers by saying that. Don't leak this slide out. So starting to talk tactics. So on radio, reach and frequency, right? Reach, frequency, consistency is really what we're trying to go for. And if you, I was talking to CoStub a couple of weeks ago about the Seattle market for radio. One of the things that CoStub's up against is Seattle stations reach too many people because Seattle's so big. So it's difficult for him to get the frequency he needs because he's reaching whatever it is, like 2 million people, which costs a lot of money. The stations cost a lot. So he has to get a little creative. But if you have the ability to dial down your reach in order to expand your frequency, we want repetition and we want consistency. So 3 times per week, on average, you want the listener hearing your spot, right? So that usually takes like 25 to 30 spots on a radio station. So right now we're on 14 stations. We're hitting at least 3x frequency on every single one of those stations. And the radio stations can provide you all this data. So we're running 14 times at least 30 spots per week. And we're reaching about 600,000 people. So something to understand is like share of voice and share of mind, especially for like a small to medium sized business that doesn't have, you know, extreme levels of budget capacity. Share of voice is like how many spots are you running versus your competitive set. So if you have, you know, 4 HVAC providers in your market all on the same radio station with the same amount of spots, you have 25% share of voice. But if you actually have good creative and the other players don't, you might have 80% share of mind. So, and I think this is what I kind of screwed up in when I was doing it on my own before I had like professional help on the copywriting and creative. When I was doing it on my own for Sanford, my copy was like middling at best. So I think I wasn't getting the same share of mind that we're able to capture now with the content that we're putting out on the radio. Like I mentioned earlier, like 5% of homeowners are in the market today. But if you're doing a mass media broadcast approach, you're talking to everybody. And 95% of those people, you know, if you're the plumbing company, I've got one in my market whose spots are, you know, do you need a tub over tub install? You know, call Daigle Plumbing and Heating for your tub over tub install today. Get $500 off your tub over tub install. And it's like, who the fuck is listening to this? Everyone tunes it out. But if you can like have a compelling story, entertaining, informative, or heartfelt, or meaningful, or whatever, now I can actually talk to everyone. Obviously, the 5% of people that are in market today, great, I'm talking to them, but I'm talking to the 95% that might be in market tomorrow. Make sense? When, obviously, like, there is risk to taking these brands, particularly the Sanford brand, and migrating it over to Highground. But I saw it as all execution risk, really, at the end of the day. That as long as we could execute it and shepherd the transition properly, we would come out on the backside better. And for the most part, I think we did execute on that. So yeah, a couple points here. Like I mentioned, I had done like 2 years of experimentation with the Sanford brand. Had done one like pretty meaningful tuck-in brand acquisition locally to the Sanford brand. That was like a well-branded company that had been doing a lot of efforts around this for a long time. And we were able to roll that into the Sanford brand. And that sort of like started to build my conviction that like, okay, we pulled that off. We might be able to do it with Sanford. And like to give some context, like Sanford was basically the second largest home service provider in the state of New Hampshire when we rebranded it. And had a very large market presence and definitely felt some risk around that one. Okay, talk a little bit about what we did. So one thing, and I think this is critical, is like don't nuke the legacy brands, right? And like honestly, like some people will give you bad advice. Like professionals will give you bad advice. You know, website developers, whatever, they're going to say, oh yeah, you know, like we want to make sure we don't like lose the link juice from your backlinks on your old website. Like let's redirect the website to the new one. No, I want, you know, that website, the Sanford website, the Guarantee website. I want people who we've serviced for the last 5 years, who are searching for those brands. I want them to land on the old website, right? And then they find out about the brand transition when they call me and I'm able to handle the objections and handle the narrative, right?
So the website doesn't show a message?
Doesn't show anything, no. So right now, like if you were looking for Sanford, you would call. You think you're going to get a Sanford CSR on the phone. You get a Highground CSR on the phone. But we have, and I'll talk a little bit about like our script on that. But basically, like I don't want people to get confused before I have the opportunity to like put my hands around them and convince them that it's okay, right? So I don't want to send them to a Highground landing page and then they're like, what happened? Like, were they bought or something? Tell the customer 3 times. We screwed this up. So, you know, we have tens of thousands of customers across the three brands. We did send out an email. We did attempt to outbound, but of course outbounding, you know, has only a certain pickup rate. And we surprised some people some of our existing customer base with the new brand, and had like some percentage of upset customers that we had to deal with. One of the ways we messed this up was like we wanted everything. Of course, we have new customers calling us under the new brand, and I didn't want them to like get say like an automated dispatch notification, technicians coming to your home, Highground, formerly known as Sanford, and have it look weird to that new customer who's only ever engaged with us on the new brand. So we just ripped the Band-Aid and changed all those kind of like little nitnoid automatic notifications to Highground. But I had annual maintenances that I had booked 3 or 4 months prior and hadn't talked to that customer since. And then a technician got dispatched to their home, and they get some random company they've never heard of is coming out to their home. We screwed this up. But it wasn't fatal. We were largely able to save all of these. But I think direct mail is kind of like a persistent, like outbound, because like only 15% of people are going to pick up the phone when you call. It's not great. Direct mail is at least like persistent in the inbox. You could do, co-branded, whatever. One of the ways we handled this brand transition was, and I'm a big believer in this. This is something that we picked up when we did that tuck-in acquisition a few years prior. Is maintain all of your different call tracking numbers and have a system that allows you to know like where that call is coming from. So, for instance, like, is someone calling a phone number to get to us from the Sanford website, right? Or from the Sanford Google business profile? Okay, we'll pick up, thanks for choosing Sanford. How might I help you? Go through, okay, they got a leaking water heater. I'm going to book the entire call. Okay, get all the information. And then at the end, when we've already established that they're going to pay for a dispatch fee and all this stuff, at the very end, oh, by the way, we're really excited to announce that we recently changed our name to Highground. We're still wrapping the truck, so you may have a Highground or a Sanford truck come out. Is that okay? Everyone's okay with that, right? And if they're not, or they're a little hesitant, again, we're there in front of them on the phone, able to handle that objection. So talking about like kind of, I'll talk here about like basically like what we did as far as like the mass media approach. So like I said, like radio is a huge driver for us. 14 stations across the 4 markets that we're in. And yeah, we're reaching between 25 and 35% of the adult like population in that market is getting hit 3 times on average a week in each of those markets, depending on the market. On top of this, we also launched like a pretty large direct mail campaign. So we were hitting 300,000 homes a month with direct mail for the last 5 months under the Highground name. And one thing we did, and we kind of went back and forth on this, is we didn't co-brand any of this stuff. We did one co-branded thing in this entire transition, and it was a set of billboards in New Hampshire, because Sanford was such a big brand. We did, Sanford is now Highground on a billboard. Otherwise, though, like all the mail that went out was Highground mail. The radio spots, purely Highground radio spots. And just really tried to like keep that brand pure and not make it, because we're speaking to the entire market, we didn't want to like make it weird, like make it like, oh, like they used to be, and like I think they were acquired or whatever. We're just like, no, it's just a new brand. I think we did this well. We paced the physical rollout, so we did to try to like minimize operational disruption, and frankly, like spread out the cash outlay, because there was a lot of cash that was spent to do this. We did 2 trucks per week per branch as far as like truck rewraps. So 3 branches, 2 trucks each. We were spending like $18,000 a week on truck wraps. And we felt like that was sustainable. We had the Highground website up, and we kept that brand pure. No allusion to Sanford or Guarantee or CNF on that website. Launched press releases in each market to all the local papers. Got some earned media out of that. Ended up on like some like business magazines, some local podcasts and things like of that nature. Because everyone thinks I'm crazy and psychotic for doing this, so they're happy to talk about it. And then as far as like uniforms, like the technician presentation, we changed that day one. So every technician, even if they were in a Sanford truck, because I have some guys who are still in Sanford trucks because Sanford's fleet's pretty big and we're still chopping through it. But everyone's in Highground attire, right? So at least the presentation in front of the homeowner is all branded. So we'll talk about some early results here. So we're 5 months in. We launched this December 1st. So we're just about at the 5-month mark. It's been, in some ways, it's been painful, but it's been less painful than we expected. So one of the ways, like, it can be difficult to measure brand impact or like brand strength, but one of the like kind of best practices for measuring it is branded search volume. So how many people are searching for your brand on Google? We track this via Google Search Console. So what I was able to do is pull the volume of searches for legacy brands, right? So Guarantee, Sanford, CNF. That's the gold line. And then searches for the Highground brand, which is the red line. What's interesting is, we stopped all marketing for the legacy brands starting in November. And, it held flat for 2 months. Like search volume did not decay at all. And then it kind of slowly began to bleed. And like right now we're sitting at like 25% reduction in search volume for the legacy brands, 75% of where we were at. Highground now has sort of like inched its way up and now matches that search volume the legacies are at. So if you think about what that means, you see it right there, 47% increase. 75 plus 72% of legacy volume, we're at 147. So we've actually kind of seen essentially a 50% lift in total branded search volume with legacy and new brand. Some kind of interesting, I think we sort of expected this, we didn't expect it this fast, is having like a cohesive brand and like a compelling brand story and like a very values driven brand has helped us close and reduce the amount we had to discount. So prior to the rebrand, our close rate was 35%. Now it's 46%, super meaningful. And our discount rate has gone from 10% to 4%. So like not only are we getting more new customers on this new brand, but it's actually like improving our margins too. Lead count like largely was kind of flat like months 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then just in this 5th month, partially we are somewhat seasonal business, partially because the weather's starting to improve, but we are seeing like a nice uptick in leads after just pounding the market for 5 months. So if you're sitting on a founder's name right now, and maybe you have like a holdco of multiple brands, or you're thinking about buying your next brand locally and wondering what you want to do, I'll just reiterate, like I think it's all execution risk. You can absolutely rebrand to a new one. Most of us way overestimate the brand strength that our small little businesses have, period. Most people won't notice, won't care, but they might care about your new brand, right? If you do it right. I wouldn't co-brand. I think it's very alluring and like attractive to try to like do like a co-branded marketing rollout. I think it's a mistake, right? Like really lean into that new brand, try to build it into something, and just keep all the legacy. And my next one is harvest the old brand, don't bury it. Keep all the legacy digital real estate live, so that when people search for the old brand, they can still find it. They still land somewhere, find it, and then make their way to you. It's like planting a seed, and the sooner you do it, the better. So I think I'm really happy with where we're at right now. I wish I had done it 2 years ago, but the reality is like I didn't know enough at the time to do it well 2 years ago. So it kind of is what it is. But I think 2 years from now, we'll be very happy that we did the rebrand this year.